Hey guys, Mike Builds, welcome back. Today we're going to be testing this 12 volt, 314 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery that's made by BUKNUWO? It's a company I've never heard of before, but they reached out and asked me to test one of their batteries. Originally they wanted me to test a 100 amp hour battery, but I asked them to send me a 300 amp hour battery, mainly because I think the 300 amp hour battery capacity market, in my opinion, is a little bit more popular than the 100 amp hour batteries, simply because these are almost the same exact size, and these have come down in price so much that in my opinion, it's almost always worth it to spring for the bigger 300 amp hour version. And at the time of making this video, this battery sells on Amazon for 300 bucks, and you can also get it on Temu for a little bit cheaper sometimes. I would recommend you shop around and look for the best price. But at $300, it makes this thing a budget battery, very low end of the budget scale for this size. And in today's video, I intend to see if it's worth it or not. So they rate this thing at 4,000 charge discharge cycles. It is a 200 amp BMS, and the BMS is equipped with Bluetooth 5.0, so that's a big plus. We're starting to see that a lot on the cheaper batteries. It used to be you had to spend money on the more expensive brands to get the Bluetooth, but now even these super cheap batteries have it. So we're gonna fully charge this thing so we could run a capacity test on it. Then we're gonna test the 200 amp discharge, see how long we can pull 200 amps out of it, see if we can pull over 200 amp, if the high current discharge protection works. And then we're actually gonna take the battery apart and take a look at the BMS, the cells, and the build quality, and just kind of judge to see if it's worth the money or not. As far as dimensions of the battery, 13.5 inches long, 9.75 inches tall, and 7.5 inches wide. So it makes it kind of the mini size 300 amp hour battery. As a matter of fact, this looks a lot like some of the other 300 and 314 amp hour batteries that we've tested. And you can see compared to this Redudu 300 amp hour battery, it's a lot smaller and it also has a little bit more capacity. So that's amazing. And here it is next to 3 standard size 100 amp hour batteries, not the mini size. So you're easily gonna be able to replace these 3 batteries with just this one, have a lot less wiring, have a nice cleaner setup, a lot less headaches in my opinion. So now we just have to test to see if this thing's any good. I have to say I like the color scheme. The black with the orange label looks really good. You also do get a label on this side. Also in the package along with the battery, you do get 4 M8 bolts for your terminals with terminal covers. And you also get the user manual. I'd always recommend reading through this just really briefly. It's gonna have a lot of good information about this. Now, in order to charge this big old battery, we're gonna use my 30 amp charger right here. And this should take anywhere between 5 to 10 hours to fully charge the battery. And the battery was shipped with 12.93 volts. All right, there we go. We got the red light flashing, so we are now charging. All right, while we're waiting for the battery to charge, I did go ahead and download their app. That's what it looks like. It's got a cool little panda animation, which I haven't seen on a battery app. And you don't need an account. You don't have to log in or nothing. You can just connect straight to the battery. So let's go ahead and do that. And it immediately picked up, actually really quickly. I was pleasantly surprised. So as you guys can see, we're charging with 30 amps, almost 400 watts on the dot. The battery's at 40% state of charge. There's a panda eating what appears to be bamboo, meaning it's charging. Very interesting. Alerts, let's click on that. Nope, no alerts present. I'm trying to see if there's a way to look at the individual cell voltages. It's pretty plain. It does look very nice, but there's not a whole lot of information here. I guess there is everything you really need to know. Temperature, voltage, amperage, and power going in or out, but I don't see where you can see the individual cell voltages. Well, that's it. Can't really find that, but it is an app that works and you don't need a login, so that's always a positive. We have this thing fully set up in our capacity testing rig. The battery is fully recharged. We're gonna be using a SunGold Power 3000 watt, 12 volt, low frequency pure sine wave inverter to apply a load. That inverter is gonna be powering a battery charger. We're gonna put a 0.2 C load on the battery, which is about 62 amps. In order to monitor all the parameters of the battery while we're running our test, we have this kilowatt hour meter connected. This is gonna show us our voltage, our amperage, watts, and most importantly, we're gonna get total amp hours. And the total is gonna be displayed right here. That little 7 is because I turned the inverter on for a second, but the battery is fully charged. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the load going. All right, there we go. We're about 60 amps. That's kind of as close as I can get it to the battery charger. So this thing should have the best chance possible to give us a good number. And that's it. It's gonna take about 5 hours to run the test. And I'm literally gonna let this run until either the BMS shuts down or the inverter shuts down. But normally the inverter will shut down at about 10 volts. And by then the battery's gonna be completely dead. The capacity test just finished up and we ended up with 326 amp hours. The battery has been fully recharged again. Now we're gonna do a max current discharge draw test. Now the BMS is rated at 200 amps continuous, so we're gonna pull 200 amps, make sure it can handle that, and then we're actually gonna pull over 200 amps, maybe closer to 250 amps, and we're gonna let it run that load until either the battery shuts down or until nothing happens. and we kind of show that the high current disconnect doesn't want to kick on. Now, a lot of the cheaper batteries that I end up testing on the channel, the high current discharge doesn't seem to work, but sometimes it does. So this test is going to show us what it's going to do in a overcurrent situation. Now, I'd always recommend just fusing your equipment correctly, and then you'll never have to rely on the high current disconnect to work. And we also want to make sure it'll actually handle 200 amps, because if you're really pushing this thing to its limits, you want to make sure you're going to get stable, good power without it shutting off. So we have here a 1500 watt space heater, and then we also have it connected to the charge inverter. With both of those combined, we can easily max out the inverter. We're using the same inverter we used on the discharge test, a 3000 watt pure sine wave inverter. I'm gonna go ahead and get the charge inverter kicked on first to give us our base load. Then we can use the heater to adjust the amperage from there. All right, we're at 112 amps. That's really nothing. Let's crank it up some more. We're gonna plug in our space heater. We're gonna start with it on low, and we're at 190 amps. I'm gonna go ahead and crank it to high. We're pulling almost 270 amps. That's about as much as I'm going to be able to get with this setup. I'm actually impressed that the voltage is staying above 12. I've seen on some other batteries it starts to sag below 11. We're gonna let it run this load. The weakness in my setup is gonna be these 2-gauge cables. They're gonna get quite warm, but so far it's running everything just fine. And that's 3,200 watts of output on the DC side. It just disconnected. It works. Go ahead and reset everything. That was kind of a surprise. I didn't think it was gonna work, but it shut off. Let's see how long it takes for the BMS to turn back on, or if we have to connect a charger to it to get it to reset. There it went. It just turned back on. Took about 20 seconds. All right. Well, that's good. Now that we showed that works, now it's time to tear this thing open and see what the inside looks like. Little caps on the terminals. Might have to pop these main leads off. It's pretty snug. Does it have metal plates holding the cells? Piece of foam block kind of stuck on the top here. It looks like this is actually cradling the main positive lead and also some of the balance harness. You got this main positive connection right here that's gonna go to the top post right here. And it feels like about a 4-gauge size wire, which is pretty common, but it's hard to say because it has this sheathing on it. It may be even a little bit thicker. These lugs are really nice. Crimped, heat shrinked, that's good. They're also plated. Main positive and main negative connections. It looks like they torque them and then put some goo on them. We see this silicone goo on a lot of batteries we tear apart and test, and there was a cap right here that I did pop off. But they got safety caps, that's good. Although it didn't take much to take that one off. First initial look at the battery. The wiring's kind of messy. However, when this was on top, it actually kind of held all that together. So I can understand why they didn't do that, but I've still would have at least thrown some sheathing or something on this because these are all just kind of hanging out. Got nice heavy duty looking bus bars with humps. We have bolted terminals. They're not soldered directly to the bus bar. Nothing's even warm. These are stone cold from that test we just did. You know, not even 5 minutes ago, so that's good. Main negative connection appears to be made of 2 6-gauge wires, also with a nicely crimped lug bolted to this bus bar and put some goo on there. And then you can see the wires coming out of the BMS here going to our main negative. There's like some random little bits of foam kind of just stuck. I don't really see what the purpose of that is, maybe for insulation from the bus bar. Here's another good look overview of the battery. Our BMS is tucked up in here in the side of the battery, so I'm trying to see if there's any heat. I don't feel nothing hot. Doesn't look terrible for the price. I'm gonna try to pop the battery out of the case. And what's gonna be hard to show on camera is right here and right here, there's actually metal plates. And then in between each cell, there is insulation paper. So they are insulated between themselves. And then there's plates on the end. So I'm wondering if these plates have anything to do with helping the cell stay compressed. The cells do look nice and flat against each other. They're not puffed or nothing crazy. The temperature sensor is adhered right here, so I'm not sure if that's a good spot or not for it, but it is touching the cell, but it's on the plastic part of the cell. I'm not sure if that's gonna thermally conduct very good. I'm gonna freeze some ice water, that way we can test low temperature cutoff. Nice case. It looks like they tried to put some stuff on the bottom to help keep the battery secured, but there's zero foam, so I would not slam this down on anything hard. And if you're gonna have this thing in a high vibration environment, I would definitely recommend putting some foam on the battery case itself. Putting foam here is gonna protect the bottom of the battery cells from getting dent or taking any sort of hard impact if you drop it hard. So definitely protect this thing. It doesn't take much to dent these metal cells. So there's 2 metal plates, one here, and they're using the shipping strap style compression mechanism, which we've seen this a bunch of times. It's 1 step up above reinforced tape, which I've seen on some cheap batteries as well, but it's not quite as good as having a mechanical compression device, such as metal bars with bolts. But this is very common and it does seem to work just fine, especially if you put metal plates on the end because it's gonna protect the cells from getting dented on the edges. Sometimes they don't even put a plate, they'll just put a plastic little edge protector. So this is pretty good, I would say, for cheapness. I mean, none of the cells can wiggle. It's very tight. Better look at the BMS. I don't see any name brands or markings on the BMS, so it's hard to say what it is. And the BMS appears to just be double-sided taped to a piece of fiberglass board. It does seem to only be using some sort of adhesive or tape to be stuck down to the battery's plate right here, but it is very secure, not loose, not bouncing around. Has nice bolted connections, so we do like to see that. Heatsink's not warm from our testing. My only concern with having the batteries BMSs on the side is sometimes I don't know if they cool very good, but I don't really think it matters if you're not pushing this thing to the extreme limits. It does have a heatsink. It's not massive, but it does have one. We're gonna flip this thing back over and try to see what kind of cells they're using. I just decoded these cells using a QR code decoder like we always do. And according to this, these cells are made by Cornex. They're from August of 2025, so they're not very old, but it doesn't give me a whole lot of other information. It doesn't tell me the amp hours or, you know, anything like that. I wanna say I've seen that brand of Cornex cells before, so if you guys have seen that, let me know in the comments what you think. So it's hard to say exactly what they are, but it gives us a little something to go off of. All right, we have a battery charger connected to this. I'm gonna go ahead and insert the temperature probe into some freezing water. See if we can get the low temperature protection to trip. Oh, there it went. It just turned green, which means the BMS has officially disconnected. Now I'm gonna remove the sensor and warm it back up. And there we go. It just turned back on, so that does work. All right, guys, that's gonna conclude us testing this battery. Overall, it did function as designed. All the features appeared to work as designed, as advertised. Pulled full capacity. My only real nitpick is the wiring on the inside was a little bit messy. They should have illuminated that a little bit better. Other than that though, this thing looked pretty good, especially given the price. This appeared to be built on par with a lot of the other budget batteries that we've torn down, maybe even a little bit better. Especially the fact that the high current discharge actually worked, which very few batteries that I've tested actually have high current protections at work. So the BMS is calibrated, it is working as designed. Only time will tell if this brand sticks around and if these will get support. A lot of questions I do get from a lot of viewers is warranty support, and I don't like hearing bad stories about warranty support. I hate hearing that somebody bought a battery, especially one that I've recommended, and they've had an issue with it and the company doesn't want to warranty the battery. So I cannot speak 100% on the warranty. I do want to make that 100% clear, because if you do have an issue with it and you have to deal with warranty, it could be a good experience, it could be a bad experience. So I'm really hoping these guys have a good warranty department who will take care of people having issues, because nobody wants to have issues with a battery, especially because even if for a cheap budget battery, this still costs a few $100s that you're gonna have to spend. If you guys have any input or information on this brand and you wanna share your experiences, please leave all that in the comments. I will be in the comments reading you guys' comments, so love to hear what you guys think about this battery. Thank y'all for watching. If you're still watching to the end, you're the best, and I'll see y'all in the next video.